Okay. Zero carbon.
Zero waste.
Fossil fuel free.
Designed to accommodate 100,000 people.
And all of this in the middle of the desert. Futuristic, you might say. Well, ladies and gentlemen, behold Masdar City.
I think the electricity thing failed there.
That's a pity.
We'll do it again, don't worry. Is it a clip film?
Yeah, it's like a little video.
And is it link? Yeah, there we go. We'll do it that way. No sweat.
Okay. Located in a desolate desert area in the United Arab Emirates, Masdar City is the first low-impact, zero-carbon, zero-waste city. It will be home to ambitious businesses, industries and academies in the field of green energy and sustainable technology. The well-thought-through public transport system will be indispensable at Masdar City. An electrically powered metro runs through the entire city. Only electrical cars are allowed to drive the streets of Masdar City, and an underground subway system of individual electric vehicles was thought out by the engineers. These vehicles are called, here you can see them, they are called the PRT, so the PRT system. They are to everyone's disposal, every inhabitant of Masdar City. Water is used to irrigate numerous green places and flows freely through broad canals spread out throughout the landscape. Evaporated by the sun, this water cools down the air and keeps the temperature at an acceptable rate. Even the rooftops are designed in such a way that they would keep out the sun's heat as much as possible. This is in combination with the narrow streets, especially designed to create loads of shade and to keep the city breezy. Windmills and solar panels will determine the skyline. The energy produced here in Masdar City will not only supply for the city itself, but will also be put on the local power grid, making this initiative, Masdar City, so much more than just a low-impact city.
Now, how do we combine zero waste and zero carbon with a normal life in the city? Well, Masdar citizen is just like the life of every other person, marked by energy provision, means of transport, the buildings, trash, and the companies on site.
First of all, it was decided to build the largest solar plant of the Middle East before any other part of the project. This made it possible to use the power of the solar farm to build the entire city. Abu Dhabi, being on the coast, nearly on the equator and in the desert, has a great solar and wind farm that's great for energy resources. There will be an offshore wind farm and a solar farm outside the city. The city intends to utilize geothermal power as well. As you could see in the little video, the city will be surrounded by a wall and wind towers to protect the city from the desert climate. It is actually located and oriented to maximize the flow of cool breezes through the entire city, while deflecting them during the hottest parts of the day. And a last ingenious system to keep the city cool with a minimum of energy are the connection of water channels. They run through the entire city. The desert temperature will make the water evaporate, bringing fresh vapor in the air and thus keeping the city cool.
Now let's talk about the transport systems. The engineers did their very best to make sure that the city remains carbon-free. And while a normal city, transport is one of the biggest pollutants, in Masdar City the transportation system will be 100% carbon-free. Now, if you are in Masdar City, you are at no time more than 200 meters away from a public transportation stop. Even better, if you are in Masdar City, you are no time in a car. No cars? Yes, you heard it well. There will be no cars. And instead of cars, the citizens will use these PRTs like shown in the video.
This stands for Personal Rapid Transport. The PRTs will run on magnetic tracks and will pick you up at your house and drop you off at the nearest station of whatever local thing it is you want to go to. Now, actually, the city is raised on a huge platform, kind of a podium, giving the pedestrians a free walking environment on top, and giving the PRT system space below the city to run there. Now, each pod will have a 4 to 6 passenger capacity and will run around the city, connecting 83 strategically located stations. There will also be a second transport system, the LRT, Light Rapid Transport. This is a central electrical powered rail system that will go through the city and will connect Masdar City with Abu Dhabi Airport. Now, these two systems will run completely on renewable energy and will replace the need for cars. Now, if you think this was impressive, then you better take a look at this.
One of the most important buildings in Masdar City is the Masdar City Headquarters building. Maybe I'm a little bit early, but
every aspect of the city is built to reduce energy waste. If you look at the overall design of the city, you'll notice that the streets are really narrow. That's a technique to optimize ventilation and to keep the temperatures down. The fact that the buildings are packed densely actually means that they will always shade each other, and so that much less energy will be needed to keep the buildings cool. The design of the buildings themselves is also very interesting. On first sight, you would think these are just some modern buildings with a traditional Arabic tint, but if you look at these pictures, you see that the design of these buildings is really a nice piece of engineering. For example, this picture shows how the design of the house is made to nourish the airflow and so creating a natural air conditioning system. The rooftops will be covered by photovoltaic arrays, producing energy and shading the roofs. The water for the city will come from an entirely solid power desalination plant. Since it is in the middle of the desert, it is also very important to try and use as less as possible water. Well, Masdar City is designed to be extremely water efficient and will use 80% less water than a city of a comparable size.
Yes, like I've said before, one of the most important buildings in Masdar City is the Masdar City Headquarters building. This is a big building that requires a huge amount of energy. But guess what? It produces more energy than it consumes. So this is called an energy positive building. It has a giant solar panel for a roof. This solar panel was constructed first so that they could build the rest of the building with the on-site generated solar energy. To produce even more energy, the building will have its own wind turbines. Another aspect to illustrate its incredible sustainability is the consumption of water. If we compare this building to buildings of a comparable size, we can see that this building will consume up to 70% less water. Then I can hear you all thinking, what about trash? Since the city has a zero waste objective, all trash will either be composed or turned into energy. So biological waste will be used to create nutrient-rich soil and fertilizer. Industrial waste, such as plastic and metals, will be recycled or repurposed for other uses. There will be no waste in the entire city.
Masdar City also aims to attract companies from different sectors, focusing on green energy and sustainability, the so-called clean tech companies. The key sectors Masdar will try to attract are the renewable energy sector, waste management, water and recycling, and so on and so on. In order to do so, the Masdar Institute of Science and Technology was being found out of a partnership with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The institute is a non-for-profit institute that is really research-driven. Obviously, it concentrates on green energy and sustainable technology. The institute is already doing research at the MIT, but besides a research facility, it's also a university, which, and this comes as no surprise, focuses on green energy and sustainability. So as you can see, Masdar City is the place to be for green technology companies. Companies will be able to profit by not only the know-how that is concentrated in the Masdar Institute, they will also be able to benefit from its new research and the green image that the Masdar label implies.
Yes, and now it's time for our conclusion. While the amount of invested means is huge, especially concerning money and time, the outcome of the project still remains quite uncertain. So the main question is, will Masdar City be successful? In the few years the project existed, it has known already several setbacks. First of all, Masdar City won't produce all of its energy on site as was previously planned. However, the city aims to import only renewable energy to fill the gap. Secondly, Masdar had to postpone its deadline for completion of the city. When construction began, the deadline was set in 2016. That was 8 years after the construction in 2008. Now recently, this deadline had to be postponed to 2020 and will probably be postponed another time to 25. Now we could say that Masdar City faces certain difficulties and dilemmas. However, the city still shows some major green ambition. For example, it aims to build a new giant solar farm outside the city to fill the energy gap that now has to be imported.
So let's have a look at some criticism on Masdar City. The concept is still not ready to be implemented on global scale. First of all, because it is just impossible and definitely not sustainable to start building entire new cities everywhere. And secondly, the concept as the city as a whole is not useful for existing cities to model. They can only model parts of the Masdar initiative. And we can also ask ourselves the question, is Masdar City really a step towards genuine sustainable development or a strategy to protect the United Arab Emirates from environmental criticism? Well, it is very ironic that the Sheikh, whose emirate is responsible for almost 10% of the world's oil reserves, is building a fossil fuel-free city. Nevertheless, it is hard to call it greenwashing, taking into consideration the huge capital that is invested in this project. There are also some skeptics who are saying that the city will be only symbolic for Abu Dhabi and that it may become just a luxury development for the very wealthy. As a last remark, I also want to point that being carbon-free doesn't really mean that the whole construction didn't include any emissions of carbon dioxide, because this is just impossible with the existing industry and technology. However, we can say that the constructors did their very best to reduce those emissions.
But despite the setbacks and the criticism, Masdar City remains an ambitious and world-changing initiative. No one can deny that Masdar will help to develop numerous green technologies. And we need this kind of radical projects to make people see what needs to be done. We need to dare to take a leap. You know, Masdar City represents the city of the future, and by building up from the ground like this, what Masdar was able to do is envision a new way of living, a new kind of city. No waste, no carbon, no cars. This is good, and while it's going to take a lot of money, and we've yet to see if it's actually going to work out at all, Masdar to us represents the kind of hope that we like to see in the world, the hope that we can do things differently, the hope that we can do things better. Thank you for your attention. Here are some recently taken pictures on site, and if there are any questions, please feel free to ask them.